Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese, episode 381. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
Marc Augustiniak.
How'd it do?
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games, brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. How are you guys doing this week?
Fine. We're doing alright, considering Christmas is less than 5
Dude,
days away now.
I got Vin Diesel by my side. I made French toast. I'm ready. I'm good. I'm rocking.
I've never wanted a cigarette more than I want to have one right now in my life. I just want to take a little drag of that little
I want
cig in
one
his
of those
hand.
like fake flea market cigarettes that I always used to like puff, like that whatever asbestos they put in those.
If you want to start smoking, Matt, I will start smoking with you. Just out of solidarity. It's the best I could do, you know? 1 week out from Christmas, Mark, but in this household, or Matt, we call it 1 week out from Wonder Woman 1984.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if you heard, but Wonder Woman is coming to HBO Max next week. I bought popcorn last week in preparation for it.
I bought a gold-plated metal outfit just to sit around.
You are fully prepared for the season.
I'm going to AirPlay to my HomePod and my mini HomePod to just blast that theme.
Just
on
for the whole
repeat.
week leading up to
And
it.
the best part is I probably won't be in the apartment almost all day, so I'll just blast it on repeat with not
Just
being
leave
there.
it for your neighbors to hear
Yeah.
through the walls. I have a Christmas question for you guys. I noticed as I have been checking for packages that have never shipped, but I still look out front for them. Yeah,
Same.
you know the pain. We're all... but I keep looking out front like, maybe there's something? I noticed yesterday that one of the 4 strands of lights that I have out front is burnt out. And I went out there barefoot, as you do, and was pulling lights out and putting new lights in and was not coming back on. Should I get a new strand or just say, Christmas is a week away, it's fine if they're out?
I mean, you could get a new strand and support the new strand genre created by Hideo Kojima.
What if I told you that every time I've been somewhere to buy Christmas lights in the last couple of weeks, they haven't had them, so I feel like it would be half of my day spent traveling to different stores to look for Christmas lights.
Do you have Halloween lights?
I do!
And why don't you have them up year-round? What is wrong with you?
Well, mistakes were made. We'll leave it at that.
But
Speaking of mistakes made, Mark, you are done with Cyberpunk.
I thought you were going to be like, Mark, that's it. Yeah, I was. One of
Just Mark.
3 of 3 mistakes made. No.
Yeah, so you've rapped on Cyberpunk, but maybe not in the way that most people are expecting you to have rapped on Cyberpunk. Tell us about your week with Cyberpunk before we talk about CD Projekt Red's week with Cyberpunk.
Man, it's weird. It's like, there are things to like about this game. I'm not going to be on that train of just like bashing it because that's the cool thing to do.
Oh, but it's the cool thing to do.
But I'm also not going to defend it. Right? Like, there's just things that I've noticed with my playthrough. So this isn't like hopping on like a bandwagon of things that annoy me because it annoys everyone else. This is just my personal take with everything. From what I'm getting from it, and maybe I can't tell if it's more of like the game's fault or if it's just my own fault when it comes to expectations or like certain standards when it comes to I guess like RPGs or something. Maybe I just don't like RPGs anymore. I don't know what it is, but it seems pretty shallow. In a nutshell, like, and I can't tell if it is the writing or if it's the way the characters deliver their lines. It seems like it seems like a fault of trying to do too many directions with a character and trying to have that tailored to you, but I'm kind of noticing like a lot of things don't matter. A lot of choices you make do not matter, do not impact the story. It's just because there's 2 versions of text when you talk to characters. You have the blue and then there's yellow. Yellow is supposed to be like the bigger plot points to kind of get the story going, and those are your more decision-making ones. The blue ones are just kind of like extra lore if you want to get some details out of them. But ultimately, you can go through all the blue ones before picking a yellow, and you'll move on to the next prompt or something. Now, your life path. You feel like it matters, but it doesn't. At least from what I'm gathering, because most of your background life path options when you talk to somebody are in a blue text. It doesn't really change much of the story. And I picked Nomad, but there was a conversation I had with somebody where we were talking about taking down corpos, because nomads don't like corpos. They don't like suits. They don't like the elite rich, whatever, right? Because they're the exact opposite, blah, 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 blah. But, like, the way my character was talking to them, it sounded as if he was being defensive for corpo. Like if somebody was talking about, like, wanting to take him down and, like, loves, like, destroying them and all that, and he's like, oh, so that's how you get off, is, like, just attacking some suits, blah, blah. I'm like, your character is a hired merc. That's what you're known for in this city. You're not, like, you don't exactly take sides, but he sounded like he was kind of being a little, like, he was, like, taking offense to attacking corpos for a second. And I don't know if it's just because the way, at least, the more male-oriented V, like, his lines, the way he talks, he just sounds very, like, he doesn't sound that sympathetic all the time. He sounds very, like, douchey and standoffish with a lot of his lines, and it just kind of clashes with what is going on, and now you're talking to somebody. And just, like, he doesn't seem likable to me. I think the female voice delivers the lines a little better from what I've seen. It at least makes more sense in context. But a lot of that was throwing me off. Like, at one point, like, one reply is, like, very calm. The next one is, like, almost, like, threatening when it didn't even need to be. I don't know. Something like that. But, like, the bugs, not even really a complaint, because I'm enjoying that. I can't tell if this one part was a bug. I had to break into this facility, like, almost Metal Gear style. Optional. You can just go in guns blazing if you want, but it's going to be tough and challenging. And there's like this internal timer of, like, a van that always drives through and they're allowed in. So I have to, like, preemptively hijack that van to drive in. And I made it in. But, like, the way he's talking, he's like, V is, excuse me. I almost burped monster. Sorry. V is talking to his other friend who's kind of helping him infiltrate this building. So you can, like, sabotage it or whatever. But, like, so I hijack a van, I make it in, but he's, like, whispering the whole time, and I get out of the van, and nobody bats an eye at me. I can walk anywhere, and nobody's a threat anymore. I can go into, like, the places where there's security, like, watching the cameras and stuff. Nobody cares. And I'm not sure if I can really attack anyone at that point either. But, like, I'm still walking in, and he's still, like, whispering. It's like, dude, you don't gotta whisper. Everybody doesn't give a shit that you're here. Just walk around, do whatever. But it's just making it seem like he can't be seen this entire time that I'm trying to sabotage this warehouse. And I have to, like, sneak out and everything. It's like, I did not have to be stealthy at all. I just, hey, what's up, guys? Hey, what's up, giant mech? Hey, what's up soldiers with guns? I'm just dancing by. I don't know if that was a bug, but I made it easy. I was fine. I'll take it.
But that was also the part that I was worried about when you were kind of, like, reveling in the bugs and, like, cool with them. I was like, yeah, but is it going to cross that line where it's just, like, now they're getting in the way of, like, major story beats or, like, the world immersion?
Right. Like, it made it feel like I should have been, like, Solid Snake the whole time.
Yeah.
I should have been sneaking around. I should have been, like, deactivating cameras when I can and going by soldiers without them noticing me, and maybe, like, chokeholding people and hiding their bodies in, like, dumpsters or something. I didn't have to do any of that. It was so easy. But, like, I tried to write down some things that didn't exactly make sense to me because they seemed like oversights more than anything. And they just started building up. Like, I'm having mindless fun with it. I love going around. Like, I got these implants for my arms. They're called gorilla arms because you can get, like, those cool blade arms you see in the trailer. Or you can have, like, instead of blades, they're, like, guns coming, like, out of your forearms. But I just have, like, strong-ass fists. So I just punch the shit out of people. And it's stronger than almost any gun or weapon that I have. And if I hold in my punch, he will, like, do, like, a little cinematic where he grabs a person and just haymakers a guy, and they just go completely horizontal after punching them. but there's no sound effect for the punch, and more than half the time, I'm not grabbing anybody because they're already dead, but I still do the motion of punching them as if they were standing there. But punching people when I can do it, so good. But can't do it all the time. Now you don't really, I know like a lot of those developer videos or whatever kind of show you more of lore than Night City before getting into the game as it was coming out. Through those Night City Live or whatever they were called things. They kind of showed all the gangs, and I assumed that you could like join a gang and like take their faction and kind of like, you know, do stuff specifically for them. But you're just a hired merc, so you don't really take sides with anybody. You can kill anyone basically. I kind of wish it was a little more fair with that, because I didn't think I would be such a Boy Scout for the police in this. Like, there's a lot of crime you can stop, and like the cops kind of like fill you in on like what's going on or whatever, and like that's fine. But you should also have the option to kind of like betray them too without any real consequences. And they're the only ones that like, if you accidentally kill a civilian, I get it. If you like maybe run a red light somehow and a cop notices, I get like you get like a star on your thing. But I'm like out in the middle of nowhere, and I punched a dude by accident that I shouldn't have, and all of a sudden cops just teleport right in front of me to shoot me down. I don't think they should teleport. I mean, I know we're kind of in the future here, but it just kind of looks
ain't
like
that kind of future.
Yeah, I didn't think we could just clip into existence and take me out or whatever. I don't know. I mean, you can get away from pretty easily. It like if you have a car, you drive away for like 5 seconds, and then you're not like being chased after anymore. It's a lot easier than GTA. But yeah, like it's just weird being a merc, but yet I don't know. It just seemed kind of backwards.
It sounds like there's a lot of like. It sounds like they wanted to have a lot of different options and a lot of dynamic changes to the game, but really there's not. It's not as big as it maybe ended up or could have ended up. Do you think that that's something that they will get to eventually? I know that like post-launch support for The Witcher 3 was really well done.
I'm not sure. The way this game is set up, it really does have its own story that you are supposed to follow. You don't really have that much freedom of choice. You just have the freedom of how you want to go about approaching a situation that could lead to fighting. Like, you can either be hacky the whole time, or, you know, you can be non-lethal, or you can be very lethal. But other than that, there's really not much you can do to make it like your own tailored experience.
Yeah, I mean, and that plays into the tabletop nature of it too, where it's, you know, you might walk into a place in a tabletop game, you can do different options, but it's still like, if it's an enemy in the room, the enemy's still going to come at you. It's just, how do you deal with it in that moment?
And like, I don't understand talking to NPCs that aren't characters that move the story along, like just pedestrians. Like, you have an option to interact with all of them. Like, there's a button that says, you know, for keyboard and mouse, it's like press F to talk. It's like, okay. They just say one line, and it's either good or negative, and then that's it. You can't, like, I don't see the point of having an option to talk to them if they're just going to say the one line, and you can't go any further than that. It should just be an automatic thing that they, if you happen to be looking at them, they're just like, you know, what the hell are you looking at? Or like, hey, good looking, or something.
Yeah. Some flavor text to...
Like, it just seemed very unneeded to prompt it. If it's not going anywhere, like it's not a side quest. It's nothing like that. Yeah. It's just
it's all Uncanny Valley at this point.
Hey, at least they didn't do Watch Dogs Legion. You talk to them, and then they tell you about how their sister was kidnapped, but they will join your team if you go and rescue their sister.
Right.
I would rather have that. I guess at this point, like,
trust me, you don't. You think
I
you want
guess.
that?
Like,
so you see all your side missions just
like,
start. Boop, 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 boop. Save sister, save sister, save sister, save brother, save sister, save cousin.
I mean, the map is pretty much that in a way, if you choose to do it. It's like, hey, go take down this thing, or go sabotage this, or go, hey, look at these big tarot card paintings everywhere, or something. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot to this city. Like, visually, yes, it does look good. I'm not exactly feeling the future vibes. Yeah, there's some holograms and some neon lights here and there, but it just kind of feels like this is what LA would probably look like. or not too far off from it. It doesn't feel that futuristic to me. It feels like an in between, like kind of like Red Dead Redemption, where it's like on the line of changing from Wild West to being more civilized, introducing cars and everything. It kind of feels like it's like an in between of like it's future but not quite future. There are flying cars, but you cannot drive those. You're still on four wheels. You're still going out. Like, yeah, I get it, like high tech, low life kind of thing, but this is like low tech, low life almost the entire way. Like, even if you start a corpo, you're going to end up being a lower tier in social class anyway. I don't know. Like, just all these little things I'm noticing are just combining of like, this is trying to be more than what it is. But once you dive into it, I'm like 40 hours in, and I don't know how long this game is, but characters are very predictable. Every time I thought it was going to go one way, it didn't. Like, I thought maybe like somebody was going to betray me by the way they were talking, because they seemed like sneaky, or like the conversations you have multiple choices that are yellow text, but they still end up kind of saying the same thing, just two different ways. And like, you're not trying to be a dick, but it still makes you sound like one. And then the next line, you're just like, you sound buddy all of a sudden. There's no real like cohesiveness to it to me. So it just feels empty in that regard when it comes to like the actual role playing side of it. It's not a story I am maybe it's me, but like there's just a story that I can't really get a grasp of. And it just makes me like, I noticed I started skipping lines. I started not caring anymore. I just wanted to get it done and over with. So just get right to the point. And then being in a desert part for so long, like it made me want to jump into other games that were a little more to that point, but I'll get there in a second, because the other part I thought was funny was that how big this whole genital topic became. I know we kind of touched on it before, but I really wanted to make sure if like, is there a purpose to this? And they're completely, it matters when it shouldn't, and it doesn't matter when it should. So like,
that sucks.
So yeah, there is sex in this game, but you do not see your junk at all during these scenes. They kind of make it to where you could have anything down there, and it kind of just caters to that. So it kind of plays it safe in that regard. And I guess for like animation reasons, I guess understand that. But what's the point of customizing your junk if you can't see it when you should use it? I mean, and the only time you're going to use it, because you don't go to the bathroom, so you only see it when you're changing clothes, because it'll like,
it's a headline,
render real quick. And then I didn't know this, but there are specific romances you are only allowed based on your body type. You only have one partner per body type. So like,
I mean, that's kind of accurate to real life, right? It's probably the most role-playing thing that they've done.
I guess, but I thought I would have options or choices, not just one. Hey,
we all
you
did,
want
Mark. You get what you get.
True, but the one I wanted, I can't even get. Because, I mean, now looking back on it, I should have noticed the signs, but, I'm not her type, and that's okay. But I felt dumb thinking I had a chance the whole time, so I'm just playing Weezer's Pink Triangle in my head the whole time, going through this.
Oh, man.
It's like, okay. I have no other goals for this game now. So it was just like...
that was the last one.
That's it. There's nothing to fight for anymore. Like, Keanu Reeves is cool, but like I can see where this is going, and I'm just not invested anymore. So it led me to playing Borderlands.
How's that going?
I'm enjoying it. It gets right to the point. There's no bullshit. There's no useless characters. Like, there are useless characters in that, obviously, but like not in this way to where it's like they carry the story along. No, you just do missions.
Yeah. You
shoot shit. You go back. It's just very, like, they're only there to just give you something to do. You don't have to worry about investing time into them or whatever.
And you're playing the original. You're playing the first one? Oh, wait, sorry.
No.
Oh, I mean, yes to both of you.
Okay.
But yeah, like, it's just, I don't know, like, yeah, I mean, it is also pretty barren, but that's kind of the point of it at first. You are, like, in a freaking desert.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, like, it just made sense to me. It cut off all the unnecessary fat. It wasn't trying to be something it's not. It just worked. Like, I didn't need to believe that I am like in this world that I need to be like immersed in and completely to get everything. There's no forced relationships that I have to like whatever. Like, I don't have a best friend I'm forced to care about.
Relationships? Are you kidding me? There's Claptrap. You got to deal with that the entire game.
Well, he's actually not there all the time. He's like in the beginning for the tutorial, and then you can like save his friends if you want. Like, he's not as much in your face as I think he is later in the other games, I think.
Okay.
Which I was surprised by, because I thought there was a lot more of him. But
you've played these before, right?
I mean, I played the first one, but it's been so long, so now I'm playing like the Game of the Year Enhanced Edition.
Yeah.
And like, the only thing that's like kind of buggy about it is it still has like compressed JPEG, like cutscenes.
Like it's all Pop-Tart cutscenes.
Yeah, and whenever I like switch between the map and skill tree and everything, it keeps thinking I'm making my own personal waypoint on the map when I am not. I am switching between stuff, so I always have to keep going back to the map, turn off the marker where I'm at, and whatever. But that's it.
Hey, playing as a mouse and keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
You check your mappings. You might have two keys mapped together.
Maybe I'll have to look at it. There was like another bug where randomly I was just, the more I messed with the video settings, the worse my frames were getting, but it only happened once. And then once I rebooted everything, it was fine. But I don't know. It just I guess at that point I was just checked out of stories and lore, and I don't really care for that much reading. So it's cool just sometimes picking up audio logs and hearing little bits and pieces of stuff, and I kind of just put it together in my head, or just get right to the gameplay. Just have that be the thing that moves everything along, and not just having to go. I mean, yeah, both games have a map with a marker, and you go to the marker, so it's like, oh, you're trying to find something. It's like you're not really looking; you're just going to the marker. But
that's something I'll go way more into this later. But I've been playing Metroid Prime 3 this week, and with that, like, because of the nature of what those Metroid games are, and like the complete isolation of Samus as a character, you kind of don't get story. But Metroid Prime 3. Except for, like in the world itself and finding lore, scanning things obviously was a big thing in Metroid Prime. And in this one, I've found that more than ever, they've been doing like voices in your head kind of thing. Like there's more people from the Galactic Federation going to the planets that Samus is going to, or like kind of following in her wake to try and help. And there's a lot of like, as they land on a planet, they'll radio in like, Samus, we're here. We need to meet you over here to help with, like, there's that kind of stuff where but it's all like very passive, and it's all like, I'm still moving and shooting. And I think also the Wii controls play into that also, where you feel like you're immersed in it, but then like everything around you is just kind of happening. And I think that's been refreshing. I think I've needed that in a way too, but
yeah,
obviously.
And it was weird how much Cyberpunk was reminding me of Borderlands and than anything else, and I think it's just because I was out in the desert for so long, and I seem to enjoy that scenery more than the actual city. For so, like, I don't know.
Is the humor close to it in that way? Like the kind of way
I mean, not. I don't know. I mean, how some of the people talk, it shouldn't be, but sometimes it is. There are memes if you want to look for them, like you can, when you scan somebody, you can see what crimes they've done and what they're wanted for, and one of them was putting pineapple on pizza.
LOL.
LOL. It worked on me. I chuckled.
Like I found an article that is playing on the joke of Half-Life 3 actually coming out, and it's a game review. It's not called Half-Life 3, but it's pretty much Half-Life 3. Just like, I mean, if you go looking for it, it's there, but it's not like in your face, at least. Yeah. I still like driving around as well, like in Cyberpunk. Like, that's cool. The music is still really cool. Shit looks awesome at night. Photo mode is amazing. Like, I have a good time with that. But
you
like
sent me a bunch of pictures that you had taken, and I was like generally and genuinely impressed with the way that it looked, like lighting wise and everything. Like the actual like stills from that game look really good.
Yeah, and I don't even have ray tracing. turned on or
Yeah.
anything. Like, I had the ability, but it wouldn't be 60 frames if I turned it on. Yeah, settings were another thing to kind of figure out. Like, I'm not that tech savvy to know what everything means. And I appreciated it when Resident Evil was telling me what everything does, and it gives you a visual sample of what it would look like. Have you this thing on or off, and tells you how much CPU or GPU that you're using. This doesn't do any of that. It just kind of tells you, but then kind of doesn't. Like, I forget one of the examples, but like one of them, it doesn't even say what it does. It just says the name again. I'm like, cool. I guess I'll keep it on or off. I'll figure it out.
Like it's really weird that a game like this doesn't go into the settings like it did. And like I really wish I really like the games that let you do like a test run in engine, like a 30-second clip, and they throw all these different details and stuff in there. It's just wild that Gears 5, like of all the games, Gears 5 has like one of the most robust setting systems I've ever seen in a game, and something like this doesn't even come close.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like, this game, it's just a lot of things. Like, you can see what it's aiming for. You can see what it's trying to be, and there is something there. I don't want to say this game is completely empty. It's just it's not as deep as it looks, which is, I guess, okay. But if this was supposed to be like an RPG, I am not.
Yeah,
it just doesn't feel like that to me.
So that's the interesting thing about this. From you specifically, like you're the person I know who is saying these things, but I've heard it echoed in other ways that like bugs, glitches, completely broken, crashing, all of these things aside, the game's still pretty narrow and shallow. As a through end, but this week, CD Projekt Red, this is completely unprecedented what happened this week. So here's the timeline. First off, this was early in the week, I believe the 14th. CD Projekt Red puts out a letter. Dear gamers, first of all, we would like to start by apologizing to you for not showing the game on base last-gen consoles before it premiered, and in consequence, not allowing you to make a more informed decision about your purchase. We should have paid more attention to making it play better on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I want to keep going through their statement, but I do want to point out the game was supposed to come out in November and was delayed, citing last-gen consoles as the reason why it was being delayed. To make it better on those. There's a paragraph that says they're going to address bugs and crashes with 2 patches coming, a big one in January, another one in February. And these should fix most of the prominent problems on last-gen consoles. The final paragraph, I'm going to read direct quote, says, finally, we would always like everyone who buys our games to be satisfied with their purchase. We would appreciate it if you would give us a chance, but if you are not pleased with the game on your console and don't want to wait for updates, you can opt to refund your copy. For copies purchased digitally, please use the refund system of PlayStation Network or Xbox respectively. For box versions, please first try to get a refund at the store where you bought the game. Should this not be possible, please contact us at helpmerefund@cdprojectred.com, and we will do our best to help you. Starting today, you can contact us for a week up until December 21st, 2020. So that was, I think, Monday. Or whatever day the 21st was. I don't remember anymore. It's too late now. We're past it. On the 17th, at about 8 p.m. Eastern, PlayStation puts out a statement. Sony Interactive Entertainment strives to ensure a high level of customer satisfaction. Therefore, we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased Cyberpunk 2077 via PlayStation Store. So, Sony Interactive Entertainment will also be removing Cyberpunk 2077 from PlayStation Store until further notice. So, a couple things here. One, when CD Projekt Red said, go talk to the people you bought it from to get a refund, they never said, like, we've made a deal with them to make sure that it's easier, because it wasn't easier to get a refund. So, for a couple of days, people who were trying to do this were getting turned down, and, whatever about the game. 2, Life of Black Tiger is still on PlayStation Network, right? Like, that game never got taken down.
Forgot about
this
that.
did. So this is, again, when I say unprecedented. So that was then, and then the next morning after PlayStation had offered refunds, CD Projekt Red comes out and says, following our discussion with PlayStation, a decision was made to temporarily suspend digital distribution of Cyberpunk 2077 on PlayStation Store. You can still buy physical versions of the game in brick-and-mortar stores and online. All purchased digital and physical copies will continue to receive support and updates as we continue to improve your experience. This is the part I love. According to our knowledge, starting today, everyone who is not willing to wait for updates and wants to refund their digital copy of the game can do so by submitting a request at, and then it's a link to the, PlayStation has set up a Cyberpunk-2077-refunds redirect. Again, so this is not CD Projekt's fault. This is the consumer's fault for not making an informed decision, and for not being willing to wait for updates to the game. Have you guys seen, just side note, have you guys seen some of the stuff that's happening on PS4? The base PS4?
Here and there, not too much.
I watched a little bit of Digital Foundry video, but that's about it.
I was curious, because I was like, is this that big of a deal? Like, what does this actually look like? So I went to the Cyberpunk game subreddit and typed the PS4 into it and just scrolled through and found random people's, like, here's my clip of what happened, and like, dude, it's wild. Like, wild. Like, how this passed certification, I have no idea.
Yeah, and like any reviews that are giving us like a 10 out of 10, like,
yeah,
you're obviously full of shit.
Or was obviously on PC.
Yeah, or like with the caveat that, you know, CD Projekt promised a day one patch that was going to fix all the things. So it's like they give a copy to reviewers and say, here's the game, here's the things we know are wrong with it. It's going to be fixed by day one. Anyway, so if you're not willing to wait for updates, you can get a refund. Then a couple hours later on December 18th, Microsoft offers refunds. The best source I found was Xbox's support account on Twitter, stating, to ensure every player can get the experience they expect on Xbox, we will be expanding our existing refund policy to offer full refunds to anyone who purchased Cyberpunk 2077 digitally from the Microsoft Store. Now, I didn't see anything about Microsoft delisting it. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't find anything there. And then this best timeline I had on this was 10 a.m. on Friday, December 18th, but Best Buy put out a statement in its forums or a customer support channel, stating, good morning. Obviously, Cyberpunk 2077 had a ton of anticipation coming into its release, and while I've not played it myself, it would appear that perhaps for some it hasn't lived up completely to that anticipation. While many are enjoying the game, and it appears there is a patch coming on 12/21 that should hopefully help improve the game even further, we certainly understand why some might be wanting to return the game even after it is opened and played. Normally, Best Buy is unable to offer returns of open game software per our return and exchange promise here. However, after some deliberation and seeing that the vendor will be allowing returns through December 21st, Best Buy will also be allowing returns for select open Cyberpunk 2077 SKUs through December 21st, 2020. So, yeah.
So it seems like everywhere is offering refunds.
Say it again?
I mean, so it seems like just everywhere you go, digital or physical,
yeah,
everyone's offering refunds.
Which is not something that's literally ever happened before with a game like this. I mean,
the only time, like, I heard, I mean, I'm sure people on the internet have brought it up, but, like, when Anthem came out, they were offering refunds, but, like, at the same time, like, Sony wasn't making it easy either.
They weren't making it easy. They didn't set up no website. You still could buy it if you wanted to. You know, this is different, very different.
Yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 is essentially become an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, I mean, they paid for that marketing, right? So, but that sucks, man. Like, this ultimately just sucks because it's like, you put your trust in someone to put out a thing. I mean, and that's the narrative I keep seeing, sadly, is like these cool guys with 3090s that are like, runs fine over here. It's like, yeah, but also like CD Projekt Red partnered with Microsoft to make an Xbox One that has Cyberpunk stuff all over it. Like, this is something that they at least thought could be possible. Obviously, the experience is always going to be better on a PC, and yeah, it's going to run fine on that because it's a very expensive machine. But
yeah, it's like a $5,000 machine you have.
I mean, it still has its fair share of bugs too, but yeah, nothing that has been like crashing the entire thing, but
yeah, I would say that like most of the videos I saw posted to that subreddit ended with blue screen.
Yeah.
Which I've barely ever seen a blue screen on my PS4. You know what I mean? Out of all the games I've played, out of all the weird things, like I've seen it, but I could probably, if I sat and really tried hard to think, like less than 10 times have I seen it like do that crash.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever saw a blue screen on my PS4 because it would just shut off.
Well, yeah, you had to.
I'm gonna get you a copy of Cyberpunk for your PS4. I just want to see how it runs because you got the PS4 from hell. I have a lot that just ran flawlessly.
Let me get like a blast shield set up first before you do that.
Well, yeah, make sure like you nail it down too, so it doesn't fly away when those fans kick
Let me get
up.
a fire extinguisher.
Are you finding things flying away or flying towards you in Yakuza 7, Matt?
Oh,
I'm sorry, Yakuza game... Like a Dragon, as it is known here in the West.
Oh my god, this game is one of the craziest, just weirdest, bizarre, I don't know any other adjectives that I can use to describe it, but it all makes for one of the best game experiences I've had this year.
Now that's an RPG, right?
Yes, that is a JRPG.
This is already music to my ears.
I'll just start there. I was going to get there last, but here are things you can do if you don't feel like playing the main game. You can do some can collecting and try to make money. You can run into other hobos who are also trying to collect cans. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Crazy Taxi, if you would, in the way you drive around and collecting cans. You got to avoid the dumpsters, because if they hit you, they will grab your cans. So that is a mini game you get very early on, because Ichi is essentially homeless, and I'll set up why he's homeless here in a second. But yeah, that is how you made money early on, by collecting cans. And you can do that whenever you want in this game. You can also play Dragon Kart, the Yakuza Mario Kart knockoff. There is 4 cups, you can play that and ascend into kart greatness.
Is that an arcade game you go play, or is that something on the streets?
No, this is you go into a vendor on the street, all the way up north in Yokohama.
Nice.
Boost pads, pickups that put guns and rockets on your car. It's straight up Mario Kart in Yakuza. So that's something you can do. There is a business simulation in this game. You become president of a company very randomly, and you take that company to the top. And I've already completed that entire minigame because I had so much fun doing it. That's what I sent you a picture of the other day, was me making all the monies with my business. As we ascended to number 1 in the Yokohama trade, the stock market. So you could do that. You could also just go into your regular Sega arcades and play many different titles. Virtua Fighter is in there. Yes. I think a couple of the different Virtua Fighters are in there. And when I just booted up just to see, it is like full ass virtual boots into an emulation of it. It is very good.
Yeah, it's cool. That was when I played Kiwami the first time. That was the they did it. I mean, it's like, because Yakuza, the old ones, are like the next evolution of Shenmue.
Yeah.
And I don't know are you still feeling that a little bit in this, even though this is kind of a departure from the,
Yeah, I mean, it's not as obtrusive, where it's like, you got to be here at a certain time and you got to worry about like dates and things like that. Not that you really kind of have to worry about dates. There is an end date, but you have to really work hard to have that go against you. But no, like there are the elements of like just like the weirdness. You running around the street, just seeing these bizarre things, the weird side quests, like things like that. Just they're all over the place. Oh, and then the last one I wanted to mention, you can go see classic movies. And because Ichi tends to fall asleep during classic movies, he doesn't want to offend the movie theater owner, so you have to fight off goat demons and goat sleeping people in a mini game. That's like a rhythm game.
Like he falls asleep and then you're fighting his nightmares?
No. He does not fall asleep. You are fighting to stay awake, and these ghosts are trying to put you to sleep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's also a mini game you can play in this game. Anyway, this game, those are just a side quest, or the mini games inside this game. This is one hell of a JRPG. It is very turn-based. I mean, I don't think it does like the combat or like I don't know, like I don't see where the evolution of like this is like the next big thing for JRPGs. Like I don't see there's not like one thing or system here that I think other JRPGs probably haven't done yet. It's just Yakuza, which I played a little bit of Kiwami. I think I played a couple hours of it, but like I definitely feel like this is kind of a good match made in heaven almost in a weird way. Just to set up the game, you play as Ichi. He is the dude with the wild hair that you see on the cover, but at first he does not have the wild hair. During the 3-hour prequel movie that you will experience when you boot up this game, so make time for that. You kind of get the feel of how he is in the Tojo clan of his Yakuza. Things happen. He ends up serving a prison sentence to be a fall guy to help out his clan. But when he gets out of prison, the clan is kind of no longer around. You have a lot of questions. And then you end up being betrayed by one of the members in the clan. Don't want to say much else because, like I said, it is like a 3-hour movie explaining all this, and I don't want to give away the whole movie. So that kind of, once you get betrayed, you end up getting shot, and you are homeless on the streets. And that's kind of where the game finally starts. You start running around. That's when you start collecting cans because you're a homeless man and all this other stuff. And then you kind of meet your first party mate there, and then you just kind of go from there. And it kind of turns into Ichi's weird redemption story in a way. Of course, through the hours of the game, things like events happen, and like the past starts to kind of creep its way back into this different city. So where Ichi grew up, that's a totally different city. You are in Yokohama, which is different, and it's led by 3 different Yakuza clans of types. And it's you kind of navigating around those 3, and you kind of falling into these. You're kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time with these 3 clans. So like you end up getting into clashes with them, and it's really, the story has turned into one crazy thing. And I like potential story of the year, depending on how this plays out. Just the way like it set itself up and has kind of gone through the hoops. And like I'm at a critical point right now, and I'm just like I kind of don't. I have a feeling what's going to happen, but like I'm also on the edge of my seat. Like, oh, is it going to happen? What's going to happen? You're kind of like that. So I'm having just a lot of fun going through that because, the story itself is keeping me hooked, but also the combat itself. And like I said, I don't think any of these systems are going to be revolutionary to anyone who played JRPGs before, but as someone who doesn't play a lot of these, like I end up really liking all these different things. So the combat, I think I explained this a couple weeks ago. It's turn-based, like no active battle timers, nothing like that. It's just your turn. It's your turn until you make the move, and then you can see who's up next. At any time. You have your basic attack, regular attack. You have your skills, which would be like your magic, and then you have you use your items. There's a thing called pound mates. You can call upon your pound mate friends, and then they come in and do a special devastating attack for money. So yeah, you can call those in at any time. Like major battles, you can call them in. So yeah, the little systems there. But the thing I like that they do here, because like they really set this up early as like you're homeless, you need a job. They end up taking that into a system. So your party, you're not set in their ways. You can actually change their roles. And it's through a system that they call jobs. So you go to the local unemployment agency, and you can go change your dude's job, and you can make them kind of a few different things. So some of the roles can be used across different characters. Some roles are exclusive to characters. Just for an example, I lost my healer at some point during the story of this game, so I had to change one of my party members who was like an office worker who dealt quick attacks with fucking office objects. I changed her role into a musician, And now she battles with a microphone, but sings to warm up the hearts of my teammates to heal them, and can sing at enemies to give them status ailments. So yeah, lots of fun there. And there's tons of them. There's like chef, bodyguard. I love Ichi's default one, which I have not changed because I love it so much, is called Hero, because the amount of times, I talked about this earlier, the amount of times he talks about Dragon Quest in this game is so fucking hysterical. And like at some point in the game, they're just like, why don't you just be a hero? And then he just assumes this job. And when his job as a hero, the random people you go into the street have like turn into like these weird enemies and have like glowing eyes and shit. So good. It's so fun. I'm just having a blast. So with the job thing, you kind of do that, but there's also like not all those jobs are unlocked at one time. Of course, player level goes into that, and then also like your bond with Ichi. So there's a bond system in this game. As you do different battles, or as you encounter battles and do boss, all that stuff, your bond level increases, but it'll eventually hit a cap. Once it hits the cap, you can actually go to a local bar called Survive and chat with your with that team member specifically. You'll get some more backstory into them. It might eventually lead to a mission. I'm not totally sure yet. I'm still kind of going through the ends of this, but you will unlock the cap on their bond and go to the next level. And as you level up that bond, one, you get more jobs, but two, like in battle, you could get like these automatic follow-up attacks by different party members that don't cost them a turn. And you get this little extra chip damage, which kind of comes in handy as you start to get into increasingly hard battles. And then also, like once you get enough party members, like the ones you don't have in your active party will get more XP despite not being in the party, so that way you can kind of keep them ramping up with your regular party members as well. Yeah, so like that's pretty much the game. My week I have gotten lost. I really started playing this game Saturday after we recorded, and man, oh my god, I spent like all day. And then now it's just repeatedly like, I kind of like turn it on at 10 on a work night, and I find myself not going to bed now until 1:30 because I just got it encapsulated by some weird new system, or the story has gone one way or whatever. But man, I've spent quite a few amount of hours in this game now. I want to say I'm probably close to 30. The counter's in the save file, but I forgot to check before starting today. But man, it is
it that
crazy.
You're like do you find yourself, the thing that I liked about what I played of the first one, and now the first one was like Kamurocho is like a very small subsect of a bigger city that for a PS2 game it was big, but like you can't really explore what would be a full city. And I know that later games did add that. Like, are you wandering through what feels like a big Japanese city, or does it kind of get you off into areas like
you don't? There's some parts of it that feel bigger city, but I don't like going through Chinatown and the Chinatown in Yokohama, like the flourishing. There's actually two Chinatowns which lead to the difference in gangs actually, but that you learn that in the game. But like the flourishing Chinatown feels like a Japanese city, but not like high-risey. It just feels like flourishing. There's not a lot of like high-risey buildings. It is a bigger area, but it's still not massive. Like I feel fine going from the southern end of Yokohama all the way to the northern end. And like I don't feel the need to fast travel. There's some times where I'm like, I really don't feel like going all the way like back and forth, and I'll take a taxi and fast travel that way. But I actually enjoy running around because you run into the random battles. You start to do the JRPG, grinding out levels. Yeah, so like I don't know, like it's bigger. I would say it's definitely bigger than what I saw in Kiwami, but not huge by any means.
I really want to play this game still, but I never finished Kiwami, and I'm at a point now where like I want to play Zero and some of the other ones. I think Zero is probably the next one I'll play, and it's on Game Pass. Zero. But I'm like, I started it on PlayStation, so I have that weird like disconnect in my brain that's stupid. That I should just play Zero on Game Pass and move forward. Or do you feel like jumping into 7 would be fine?
I mean, is this 7 or this is the 8th installment?
It's technically 8 if you count Zero, but this is called Yakuza 7.
Okay, all But yeah, like I said, I played a couple hours of Kiwami. That's my experience into this. I've fallen in love with this. I don't think I'm missing anything. Might just be because I'm naive and like all these little references are going over my head. But I am not affected at all by like what's going on in the story. There might have been like a side mission or two that I missed the detail that would have helped and I would have appreciated it more. But like all the side missions have kind of made sense to me. But the other part of this is some of these side missions are so bizarre and out of the blue that like I almost just expect it to be bizarre and out of the blue and maybe not have the context. So I don't know, like maybe I am missing something, but because of just how weird this game can get, I just thought it was just the game being weird. Like, I don't know, like I had a side quest where I had to save a crawfish named Nancy because I accidentally threw Nancy into the river. Well, turns out some homeless dude's pet. Great. So, gotta go save him. Bring him back to the homeless guy. He's like, all right, time for our feast. And he's about to hack into Nancy. And Ishii's like, no, what are you doing, man? I just saved that pet for you. You're going to eat him? And the homeless guy's like, oh, man, like, these crawfish, this is valuable. This is a great meal for someone like me. And he's like, fine, I feel bad now. I'll go buy you a sushi kit. So you go to the store, buy a sushi kit, and bring it back. And then you keep Nancy as a pet. And now he's a pound mate for me. So I can call upon him for a special attack if I absolutely need it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
bizarre. Just
well, I guess like
Victoria's sitting here watching me play, and she's like, "What is happening?" I'm like, I don't even know. I don't even know what to tell you.
But that's, I mean, like you read a comic book. Like I could hand you a comic book, and you can jump in and just kind of know what's going on, even if it's issue 120. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. Maybe some of those details are going to make more sense to someone else who's read every single issue, but you know, you can still enjoy it just the same.
Yeah, I think that's a series. Sorry, I was gonna say that I think that's a series that does a pretty good job with like each game is its own contained story, so they don't really bleed into each other that much. But if you did play them, it's just like a little extra credit, like kind of thing for the experience.
I remember at some point I was like looking at like the not plot, like I didn't go too deep, but I was just like, okay, what is the kind of general like progression of this? And I saw, I'm not gonna say too much. There's a kid who's a child in the first game, and pretty sure she's married to somebody later on in like 5, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So like, there are some like things that carry through that are like, whoa, that's a big surprise. But
probably nothing like too significant.
Yeah, but I think they do, like you said, keep everything kind of grounded in their own little.
I was gonna say grounded. That's a stretch in this game.
Grounded, yeah, no, I just mean like contained. We'll leave it at that.
But yeah, my only gripe with this game, I mean, maybe if you play a lot of JRPGs, some of the systems might be shallow, but for someone like me, they all not fresh, but they feel good, not stale at least. And that opening, like, if you can get yourself through that opening, you got one hell of a game in front of you. But like there is not a lot of gameplay in that opening.
Is it legitimately 3 hours, or did it feel like 3 hours?
No, I think it was somewhere between 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, you can skip some of the lines and stuff, but like, I can't shit on it entirely because you get a lot of Ichi's backstory, which kind of make every one of his decisions down the road in this game have made so much sense because of how he got to where he was. So like, it's worth it. It doesn't feel like totally like a waste, but yeah, like it sets the stuff up to become Ishii's redemption story, and yeah, the story takes it and just runs with it. So it's a fun. I don't know, man. Like, Game of the Year just became a lot more interesting, at least for me internally now after playing this. And yeah, I'm going to probably complete this, I hope, by the end of the week, recording next week or whatever. But man,
yeah,
what a game.
Well, all this talk about Japan makes me want to have a quick Coke Energy. So why don't we take a break? We'll come back. We've got a rundown of some news. I mentioned earlier I played through some Metroid Prime 3. We got a couple other things to talk about before we wrap up here for the day. But I say wrap up as if we're almost done. We've only just begun. We'll be right back after this. Auto Chess is on PlayStation 4. That's right, the hot hit from last year.
Yeah.
Has made it to PlayStation 4. It's already out. I think it's been out on iOS, PC, and Android. But an early access Founders Pack is available for $9.99. When the game comes out of early access, it'll be free to play, I believe, on PlayStation. But for now, for $10, you get the full game, a Senior Pass, which is just their Battle Pass, that includes Reindeer Girl and a limited legendary chess player, Drodo. Of course, everyone's been waiting for Drodo. I ask you two, which game could benefit from adding Reindeer Girl to its Battle Pass?
Okay. How many games have a battle pass?
Passes. I feel like a Reindeer Girl could really shake up the meta in Dragon Ball Fighters.
Ah, okay, yeah. One less Goku.
Does that have a battle pass?
No, but it could have a battle pass.
Oh, I'm thinking of a fighter. I'm thinking of a fighter pass. I guess it all blends together.
I mean, I guess it's kind of the same. You're paying for an expansion of some kind, you know?
Yeah, Battle Pass is pretty specific, though.
What does she look like?
I don't know. I didn't do any research into what it looks like or what.
I would say Fortnite, but they probably already have somebody with antlers.
Yeah.
I don't know. Put them in the...
I would say Call of Duty, but I know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to take that one female model that they have of that. I don't know. I think she's an actor or something. They've done a couple different outfits or skins with her. I just see them putting antlers on her and a Rudolph nose and some skimpy outfit probably.
That sounds par for the course.
You know what? Sorry. I was going to say, put him in Crash Team Racing.
Ah, okay. That would actually be perfectly fitting. Yeah, I don't have an answer for that one. But Auto Chess on PS4, if you are interested. There's a couple of new indie games available on Nintendo Switch after a brief Indie World presentation this week. 3 games kind of dropped right after or shortly thereafter the presentation. Among Us, now on Nintendo Switch. Grindstone, Matt Sellner favorite from iOS Apple Arcade last year. And Calico, out on Nintendo Switch. Coming pretty soon, on the 23rd, Super Meat Boy Forever. We saw at the Game Awards that was coming to Epic Games Store on PC, but now we have confirmation Switch also on December 23rd. Cyber Shadow. Mark, that's that Yacht Club Games published Ninja Gaiden looking game, out January 26th, 2021.
Nice.
We've got Alba, a wildlife adventure, which this one's interesting to me because it's developed by Us2, who historically have only made iOS games. And Alba, a wildlife adventure, is currently an Apple Arcade exclusive. It just came out there. I guess there's a 6-month exclusivity or something like that. That'll be out spring 2021 for Switch. This one I like the name of. I'm only just kind of grabbing the highlights of this. Obviously, go check out the Indie World presentation if you want to see everything. But Tunch? I don't know if it's called Tunch. I didn't watch the full thing, so I'm just looking at Tunche? Tunch? It sounds fun if you say Tunch. That's out March 2021, but it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up with really cool-looking hand-drawn visuals.
Oh, yeah, that's the one where they have the Hat Girl as a...
And yeah, you could play as the character from A Hat in
Yeah.
Time. And finally, Spelunky and Spelunky 2, My Cries Have Been Answered, summer 2021 on Nintendo Switch. I think that the only thing that kind of sucks about that is that it's going to be both of them at once, where I feel like I could spend some time in Spelunky again, and I'd like to do that on Switch, and then later get into Spelunky 2, but at this point, I'll just probably jump right into
Well,
Spelunky.
Spelunky 2 might release in such a buggy mess on the Nintendo Switch that you might have to wait for 2 months for a patch to fix it. And then you might be able to refund just Spelunky 2, and then you would have time to play Spelunky 1 then.
Now you're talking.
I hope they make some Nintendo skins for that. That'd be cool.
I didn't even think about that.
Oh my god, Reindeer
Mario's
Girl.
too perfect. What'd you say, Matt?
I said Reindeer Girl.
Oh man, that'd be pretty good. Speaking of Nintendo and guest characters, Sephiroth has joined Super Smash Bros. There was a breakdown presentation from Sakurai on Thursday that went in depth with his moveset and kind of how Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy will integrate into Super Smash Bros. A bit further. One thing I thought was interesting, did you guys watch the thing with Sakurai?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch it, but I follow Wario64 does a good job of threading a whole Twitter and getting the highlights there, so I kind of got the gist of it from there.
Well, the neat thing there was he talked about, because one of the common complaints with Final Fantasy is that there were 2 songs, that there were, you know what I mean, there's very little Final Fantasy representation, and he pointed out in this video, he actually had a couple things in this video where he was directly addressing people that have said bad things, or you know what I mean, that common complaints that just get bubbled up in negativity. And but he said hey, there's a lot of rights holders that have a stake in Final Fantasy music. It's in some countries there are more than one company that we would need to get permission from to put certain songs into the game. So we did everything we could. It was basically that kind of thing.
I felt like he said that before for something. I wasn't sure if it was for when he showed Cloud. He might have said something similar, but
probably did.
That
but
was
no one
also
listens to that.
I'm
a
sure
different console.
I'm sure Final Fantasy music isn't the only music that's shrouded in all this shit. So yeah, I'm sure he said it before. Also, you never sleep, so that's why he's able to pull this off
too. They showed off Sephiroth, but also Mii costumes. So there are Mii costumes for Tifa, Barret, Aerith, which it seems like we're reverting to the English spelling there. Because in the remake, it was Aeris, right? They did the whole thing.
Yeah, I guess they fixed it. Now it's
I don't
Aerith everywhere.
Is that what it? Okay.
Yeah, because Ares was was a mistranslation or something.
And then Chocobo Hat and Geno from Super Mario RPG and the Legend of the Seven Stars.
That officially kills that.
Yeah.
Well, not exactly.
I thought he already was a hat, or was that in the last game?
Yeah, this one seems more detailed, but everyone's like, how come there isn't a headpiece for it? So that leaves people wondering. But I believe, aren't there characters that started out as Mii costumes, but also is a character, separately? Didn't that happen? Am I dreaming this?
There probably is at least one, but I would have to actually do the work to figure that out because I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. The stage is the Northern Cave from where the finale of the game takes place. Also, if you've not played the original game and are averse to spoilers, do not watch this thing because he's flat out at one point. He was like, I mean, it's a 20-year-old game. Come on, let's talk about this. And he just goes into everything.
I love the way he commented on it.
Yeah, those videos just make me so happy. I end up having more fun watching those than I do playing some of the characters sometimes. But Sephiroth is out on December 22nd, but if you've already purchased the Fighter Pass 2 or you pay for his character pack individually, there's Sephiroth challenge mode. Sakurai pointed out that once a new character comes out, it kind of just gets tucked down into the character select screen and you forget about it. So in order to make Sephiroth feel like an event, there's a thing from the start menu in the top left where you press start and you can challenge him on easy, normal, or very hard difficulty. And if you beat him, you unlock Sephiroth. So I got to jump in and play him a bit. I played through his classic mode experience, which was a lot of fun. It's just a boss rush mode with all of the bosses in the game. And just generally, I feel like Sephiroth feels different than I expected him to. He is powerful, but very light. He's not, you'd think he'd be a little bit heavier, but he's not. He's nimble. And I'm also used to certain sword fighters in the game, and he feels very different as a sword fighter also. He's got more... He
Is
relies
he more like a
less
glass
on his
cannon?
sword. The what?
Is he more like a glass cannon?
No, not even, because he's he could still take a hit. It's just I think it's that I expect a sword to be the commonly used thing, and I feel like I'm using his sword less and less. Could be totally playing him wrong, but I feel like I use swords for other characters more than him. But While we're here with Nintendo, I'm gonna talk about Metroid Prime in a second, but before we do, Matt, the phone's ringing. It's hold on. Hello? It's Miyamoto, Matt. He wants to know, he's calling for you. Sorry, Mr. Miyamoto, I can't get Matt on the phone. Yes, I know you're Mario's dad. Listen, he wants to know, Matt, which Nintendo game needs a Demon's Souls-esque remake?
The obvious answer is Zelda, right?
Which one?
Ooh, woof.
Talking to Zelda's dad here, so he wants to know.
I don't know him all that well enough. My gut says Breath of the Wild, but I don't want the whole map. I don't want like a 30th of it. I mean, that's the one that makes the most sense. Like, the systems are kind of already there.
You wouldn't go back any older?
I guess you could. Oh, well, like, the first Zelda writes itself almost into, like, a Dark Souls, Demon Souls thing, because you just kind of hit go and you go.
I'm thinking
Very
Demon
obtuse.
Souls in the way that, like, you, from the Matt Soner, the freecheese.com verbal review, it was that the game is still very much the 2009 game, but made prettier and more accessible and better.
Oh, you're talking like that. I thought you were just saying, like, in that. Oh. Ooh.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I mean, like, which one, if
okay.
Blue Point, yeah, Miyamoto's trying to get Blue Point on the phone, and they can do one thing really well.
It's
Which should they...
pot. Too late. All right. That's done. Sorry.
No.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Dang. I'm sorry, Miyamoto-san. Mark?
I would say...
Ocarina of Time.
I mean, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Give was it Grezzo? Give them a run for their competition.
Yeah.
At first, I was thinking Metroid, but then I kind of want a Star Fox where it is legit, like Thunderbolts looking puppets kind of thing, like stop motion. I know they try to do that with Zero, but I really want to like actually make it look like a live action show that you're watching, have that little charm to it. And with technology today, you could totally do that, make it look all stop motion-y and whatever, and use legit ass puppets. I don't know.
It seems like he's happy with that answer, but he's got to go.
Say Donkey Kong 64.
Oh my god!
Ooh.
Like, that's even like in the same Demon Souls thing, right? Like, it's a game that you know of, but you probably never
make it
played
somewhat redeemable.
Yeah.
You can clean it up a bit.
I would say, I guess it doesn't count because it's not old enough, but Star Fox 2, seeing as that was released for the first time only a couple years ago, so I don't think that qualifies.
But that could be... I am with, like, I think Ocarina is one that deserves it, because seeing that game in a whole new way seeing it from 64 to 3DS was already, like, incredible, but I think a lot of the gameplay stuff was still in the similar trappings, for all of its faults. But yeah, seeing what they could do with a little bit more of a reimagined control scheme and things. But yeah, Star Fox, man. Star Fox needs a win. And Metroid needs a win. As I've discovered this week, this is the final one outside of Federation Force, which is next on the list. And I guess Hunters. I'm slowly dabbling with Hunters also, but that's a different experience. But out of like the core things, this is the final one that I haven't played. And technically, I fully played Metroid Prime 3 Corruption on the Wii when it came out, and I have zero recollection of it. I remember going to GameStop after school with two of my friends. We left our guitar practice thing, and we went and we bought it. I remember playing it. I remember buying a shirt from Hot Topic that was the cover of Metroid 3 with the thing. Don't remember any of this game. So here we are. I'm almost at the end, I think, or something like that. And what I've really liked about this game is how, I mentioned it earlier, but like it really tries to expand on the world of Metroid and give Samus something a little more than just Samus on a planet killing Metroids. You know, for the first time, we see other hunters, other bounty hunters. We always hear about how Samus is the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy, but she's really the only bounty hunter in the galaxy that we ever see. And the only other recurring characters are the space pirates and the... Okay, there's actually a lot of stuff, a lot of whatever, but there's a lot of recurring. But whatever. I feel like so much of the focus is always Samus, move, shoot, kill, right? Backtracking. I think all of that stuff gets thought about and talked about when we talk about Metroid, where I think the game has a lot more to it, and I think that as we get closer to Metroid Prime 4, and I assume, we don't know, but I assume that the story in 4 is going to be like kind of a cat and mouse game between Samus and Sylux, is kind of the idea. Sylux is another like bounty hunter that we see pop up in Metroid lore and the Prime lore and stuff, but I think as we get closer to that, I think they need to flesh out the world a little bit and make you as a player care about things outside of Samus. Metroid Prime 3, it does this in cool ways. It does it in ways where I feel like Samus. And again, I think that's really like because of the way they integrate the Wii controls with the... You feel like you have her arm cannon with having the Wii Remote in your right hand. Like I feel like, I know I just played through Metroid Prime 1 and 2 over the last couple of years. You know, my like winter Metroid Prime dive in that I do. But this one being built from the ground up for the Wii control, like the Wii controls being integrated into 1 and 2 worked really well, but this one being like really built into it, like I feel like Samus walking through the world. And having that coupled with little pieces of flavor text. So like as I'm scanning the world, you'll find little pieces of lore all throughout, and you kind of just get a taste of what's happening here. Story-wise, Metroid Prime 2 ends with Samus defeating Dark Samus, and she kind of like disappears into the ether or whatever. But here, she's back, and Dark Samus is trying to like build a dark army this time around, and she's infected the space pirate planet and kind of recruited the space pirates for her own bidding. And along the way, you're like scanning little pieces of lore and reading like space pirate journaling that's talking about their new hero, and they very much damn Samus for ruining all of their plans, and they're praising Dark Samus for being their true savior and all that stuff. But you get again like a better look at different pieces. I don't know. I just feel like Metroid Prime 1, even Metroid Prime 2, because Prime 2, you had that kind of like this ancient guy who would check in with you every once in a while, but he didn't feel so much as a character as it did just like a checkpoint maker, where this feels like there are real characters in the game. There's a real layer of depth applied to what you're doing. I don't know. I think I'm getting redundant here, but I've generally liked how they've fleshed out the world. Like there are other bounty hunters that you're kind of meeting along the way and fighting, and as you fight them, you get new powers. Like one of them is ice based, and that's how you get the ice missiles. The one is kind of a chameleon, like she can take form of anything that she wants to. Not really a chameleon, she's a straight shapeshifter. And after you beat her, you unlock this new like power draining grapple beam, and things like that, where it's like built into the character lore. Samus is getting them as she's defeating these entities that have been corrupted by Dark Samus, all leading up to whatever. But there's big set pieces. Like there's a whole sky town that you have to work your way through. Like everything is on these floating platforms. And at one point, in order to stop the space pirates, you need to turn one of the floating platforms into a bomb. And the way they do it is like they have you fly around and collect pieces of the bomb with the ship. You unlock a grappling hook for your ship, then you take the ship and you have it pick up piece 1 and put it into piece 2 and assemble that with piece 3, and then fly the ship to this one structure. The captain of Skytown, or whoever he is, separates that structure and sends it off to bomb the space pirates, and you have to go down and fight things. I feel like the action is really big. I feel like the world is really big here. You are like flying planet to planet more in this one than I feel like definitely happened in the last one, because the second game was more about jumping between the light and the dark world, where this one is more like, get in Samus' ship, fly to this place. Hey, there's acid rain on this planet. You can't handle this yet, so you can only go so far, and you need to fly to this other place to get the acid rain plating. But before you get that, you need to fly to this place and get the spider ball.
Seems very Ratchet and Clank.
It's got that. It's very Metroid too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's got that piece to it. But it somehow works really well, and I'm kind of going to be sad when I finish it and I have no new Metroid games to play. So, I mean, I will play Federation Force just to say that I did, but that one's not what I'm looking for in this.
Yet.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Maybe it'll change everything for me. I kind of just, maybe after this we'll just play through Prime 1 again, maybe. I don't who knows what I'll...
You always say you're going to go to the next game, and then you start it, and you drop it until next winter. So
yeah,
don't
so
get ahead
I'll
of
finish
yourself.
this one, and then we'll see what happens January. Maybe by January next year, 2022, I'll be playing Prime 4.
Does this one feel more... Because I know the first one... Is that one that gets... I don't want to say gets the most, like, gripe or whatever, but, like, isn't that one more, like, scan heavy than the other ones?
I
it
think
comes to, like,
one,
exploring
that's the
and
funny
whatever.
thing. I think one is scan heavy in terms of completion.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to scan everything.
Yeah.
Like every single door, every single thing you need to scan in order for it to track against your completion, where I feel like the later games are more forgiving. Like I'm scanning everything in this one. When I walk into a room and I notice like, oh, that's a new thing I haven't seen, I better scan it. But I've also noticed that like there's different layers of scanning. Like you can scan things and have it knows that you've already scanned something similar to that, or it knows that this is something that's like a fleeting thing. I don't know. You're not like, there's not a ton of missable scans, I don't think.
Yeah.
Mr. Bridges. Yeah. If you have a Wii U, you should play the Prime trilogy.
Man. Or hopefully if they're smart and like money, it'll come to Switch. And
so here's the thing with that. I was thinking about that this week, and obviously, yes, bring it to Switch. I'll buy it and I'll play them again. I would love to do that. Hopefully on like a 4K Switch next year. Just saying. But I really genuinely think that removing the motion control, which I hope they don't, in whatever port, would make these games less immersive. Like something about having that, like what I don't like is the sensor bar. And if one of the dogs wants to sit with me, and I know I bring this up annually, but it's my annual reminder that having dogs and using motion controls isn't great. And I also like, I need to sit in a certain way. Like I can't just be full stupid Joy-Con spread eagle. Like I need to sit up in a way on the couch to make sure I'm pointing correctly. Which I think also is adding to that immersion, but that'd be one nice thing about the Joy-Con, because they could just kind of do the Joy-Con motion aiming that works well. That does not need to be so like point specific. But yeah. I really hope that motion controls are still in the ports when they do the ports.
Or like give it like a gyro feature as well for like handheld or
yeah,
whatever.
I think because I would like to play the original games with a controller just to see what that's like. But I would I think that the option makes it really, really.
Because I've still only played a bit of the first one, but that was on GameCube, and I'm pretty sure what I played was, I don't think it was a demo, but I remember renting it. So, never really got to beat it.
You should go back. You would like them, I think.
I think I would. I think that like that sounds like the kind of game where it's like, I know what I'm getting myself into, and because it might look like a first-person shooter, it's more about world building. So you kind of have to like pace yourself with it, kind of thing. To like you have to let it find its way to seep in. Like it's like you're trying to make a really good tea. You got to seep it just right.
Yeah, you can't just throw a bag in and take a sip. Like you got to wander around a bit. And the first person shooting stuff too with the Wii Remote, like it feels so natural. Like not that I'm like completely
At least by the third game, it should feel like that because that was its intention, right? Like,
Yeah. But that, like, first-person shooters with two sticks, like, we're used to it at this point, but this just feels way more intuitive. Like, you're literally just pointing at where you want to shoot.
It was
and you
somehow
can move really freely and...
Yeah, I mean, that makes more sense, definitely. But, like, I'm trying to remember that, like, man, I played first-person shooters with a GameCube controller, and that shouldn't sound too far-fetched, but, like, the C-Stick was somehow a little better in some cases with aiming because of how short that stick was. Like, I feel like I could be a little bit more accurate with stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, or I just overshoot it entirely, and, you know, the sensitivity is just... And you can't really adjust that in console games a lot.
Never minded the knob on the C-Stick, but it was very, like, it didn't, like, move properly.
Yeah. I also had a Mad Catz one, so it was a tiny boy. Like...
Oh, real teeny.
Mm-hmm. It's just like a nipple.
If you have access to Virtual Console and you can do that, I would recommend doing it. If you don't have access to Virtual Console, maybe you have access to the NES and Super NES on Nintendo Switch, which got an update this week with 5 new games. Everyone's favorite NES classic Nightshade out this week, along with 4 games for the Super Nintendo: Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble, The Ignition Factor, Super Valis 4, Valis, Tough Enough, also out on SNES. The interesting thing this week I saw, and I meant to look back and see if they had done this before, but they have this thing now called classified information, where it came out in a tweet that I think it's pulling from like the old Nintendo Power stuff, but it's like cheat codes, bonus levels. They showed kind of a video on the tweet where if you start a new save in Donkey Kong Country 3 and you name it specifically, I forget what the name is you have to input, you get bonus My Nintendo coins. And there was another one where it gave you like the cheats to unlock all levels in Super Valis 4. Like, I hadn't seen them really lean into that stuff with the Switch Online collections of games. I think that's neat. I think like they're slowly building something with that, with the ability to like sort all of those games. They haven't done these in a while, but those little like kind of NES remix style things they were doing where they would like basically just give you a save state as one of the special versions of the game. That was really neat. So yeah, this was just a new... I hadn't noticed this before, but they said like another edition of classified information. I was like, another? Did we do this before? So I don't know, but I did jump in and play some Super Valis 4, which is a very difficult game. But one thing I love about Super Valis 4, I don't know why I keep on calling it Valise, but this one's neat. It's a side-scrolling platformer action game, and the longer you take to get to the boss, there's a meter at the bottom where you don't have a time to finish the level, but the longer you take, the more health the boss will have at the end. So if you can get through the level faster, the boss will be weaker. Has any other game done this, or is there a game that you would want to do this?
Well, Evolve probably had a mechanic like that.
Oh yeah, that sounds, yeah.
That game, that was short-lived.
Back for Blood, man.
I guess technically the opposite in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
If you rush to the boss, he's harder.
Yeah, that's true.
What a game.
Yeah, I don't know. I like that feature though. It's interesting.
It's neat. Yeah, you guys should check out. This is a tough game, but it's fun. Speaking of Valis, coincidentally or maybe not, Valis 35 launched this week, the 35th anniversary website for the series. It hits its 35th anniversary next December, and I'm happy to see that they're celebrating it because...
How do you spell it?
There were a handful of games that were all interesting and good, and then the company who had been making them sold to a different parent company who decided, let's just make porn out of this character who was previously like kind of a cool heroine. Let's just turn it into porno games. So since like 2007, Valis has been mostly porno games. but I'm hopefully they are going to do something cool, because there really is not anything like those old Valis games out there. So bare minimum, I hope we get like a collection. And not that the SNES one is bad, but some of the other versions of these games are much better than what we got on popular American consoles. Like the Genesis versions sound great, but aren't the best ones to play. I
thought she was a Fire Emblem character if they're looking at the art. Like she looks like an old Famicom Fire Emblem character.
Yeah.
Huh. I never was familiar with this series either.
They're cool.
Cool.
The first one, you play as a schoolgirl who gets visited by a sword in her dreams or something like that, and you wake up to become a magical warrior.
Did we play one of these?
We did.
Or was it something similar?
Yeah, we played, I think, the first one or the second one.
Sega, right?
There was one on they ported it there. Speaking of anniversaries, Kojima Productions celebrated its 5th anniversary this week. It seemed like there were going to be more than what there was based on tweets and suggestions, but there was a nice celebration of the studio and its fans. Fan art was retweeted a whole bunch on the Twitter account. They put out new merch specific to the 5th anniversary and added some updates to the PC version of the game. Anybody go? I mean, Mark, you're living in Sam Bridges.
Drinking a Monster right now.
Yeah, I mean, you are there right now.
I mean, I didn't see too much outside of here's a video, here's some art, here's it was cool seeing it was kind of like an interview with the one main artist that works with Kojima on how this all started, how they designed the Ludens mascot and everything, and how that's been a long time coming, and then they finally just made it work. So it was cool getting some lore in a way of what this character represents and how that fits with Kojima Productions and everything, and everything's just very intertwined and still sticking to its roots. It's interesting that it's weird to celebrate. I guess it's not weird, but I'm just not used to a company celebrating something, I guess, like this with only one game under their belt. I don't know why I find that weird, but now it sounds rude saying it out loud.
Well, I get it, but because it is.
I mean, I don't hate it. It's just interesting.
I think the difference is that there's usually not. I think that a company will do that, right? We internally have celebrated little milestones we've hit, right, with whatever. Yes. But I think the difference here is that everyone looked at this as Kojima's hitting its 5th anniversary, and then they're making this big announcement that they're going to do something public, and I think a lot of expectation gets added where, I mean, otherwise, they might have a little staff party or something and say happy 5 years, we made it, but I think Kojima's departure from Konami and everything that happened with that, I think also probably plays into this. I think Jeff Keighley putting the eyeballs looking right emoji in response to his buddy.
I think that soon to be
there's
fiance.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that Cyberpunk DLC for the PC version of Death Stranding.
Yeah.
You can get the motorcycle, you can get Johnny's arm.
Did you know that broke the game and you're going to have to wait 2 months for that to be patched so that way that it all works?
Yeah, but if you can't wait, you can get a refund.
You're going to have to march Norman Reedus across the United bridges of, I forgot what he's even called now, back and forth 3 times before all the Cyberpunk stuff works again. And then you get the update.
I forgot Kojima is in Cyberpunk. I just haven't tried looking for him.
He is in there? Or you think he is?
No, he is.
No, he tweeted a screenshot of himself in the game.
Weird.
He's in some club just chilling.
That's cool.
Which makes sense because Death Stranding was full of cameos.
Conan O'Brien.
I thought that this game sounded very Kojima-esque in a way. There's a new Metroidvania called Ender Lilies that hits early access next month, and it's also announced for Switch, PS4, and Xbox Series X next year. It's called Ender Lilies, and in the game you play as Lily, but you don't fight. You beat bosses, and then by purifying the boss spirit, they become your weapons. It just seemed like, if you asked Kojima to make a Metroidvania, he would say, like, well, what if we did it without fighting? What if the characters fought for you?
But there kind of is
Pikmin.
fighting.
Yeah, it is totally fighting. Yeah. It's still like a side-scrolling thing. It's kind of Pikmin-esque, but they're more like ethereal. But yeah, I thought it looked neat and looked cool. Like, we don't normally like throw in previews as news stories here, but I liked this one, and I think Metroidvanias are a dime a dozen these days. And this one looked like it stood out a little bit. I did start Tobuho Luna
Tahua,
Nights.
I think.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know.
one. I started that. I played it. It's way more snappy than I was expecting. I think the last like indie Metroidvania I played that was like of that clout was Time Spinner, and it was really slow. And this one is like very fast, very loud. I liked it.
And
I liked what I played.
it's not like that's not a typical genre for that series either.
No,
This is like it's more like a spin-off because its original genre is like they're known for being like bullet hells. So
yeah. So
go
I can
into
see
this,
where
I mean,
like the
it kinda
speed
makes
would
sense.
influence that.
Yeah.
Speaking of speed, Matt, you have been getting up to speed with Call of Duty Warzone. Is there a new season now, or is this just the Black Ops Cold War integration?
No, it is all new season going in with the integration of Cold War into Warzone, which I don't think is that big of a deal. They hyped this up to be this big thing, and all they did was put some Cold War guns. Not just some, a lot. There's a lot of Cold War guns that they put into this thing. But yeah, the rumor about a new map is just, I think, related to an event that's currently going on right now. I mean, there's a new map, like it's a small thing. Reminds smaller play count, teams of 3. They do something weird where if one of your party members is surviving, you will come back after a time limit. So you can just like kind of hide in a corner and wait for your team to come back. But like it doesn't feel like Warzone in its traditional way. Verdansk, no map changes. Nothing, just still Verdansk the way you know it from last season. And yeah, the floor loot's changed, of course, to incorporate some of the Cold War guns. You can change your loadout to incorporate Cold War guns. But that will require you, of course, leveling those up in Cold War instead of Modern Warfare like you did in the past. And here's the bad news. The Cold War multiplayer is not that great to play. So, yeah, have fun grinding out all those levels to get your gun attachments that you want. I thought it was me. That's why I didn't talk about it for a while. But the more I play it, the more I don't like Cold War's multiplayer. It's just weird. Like, it feels very Black Ops.
Yeah.
But after how grounded and good Modern Warfare was last year, it doesn't feel good anymore, in my opinion.
And they say war never changes.
So do you think someone who had skipped Modern Warfare would jump into this like, heck yeah, new Black Ops? Or
I mean, maybe. I like I said, if you were a campaign person, I still think this Cold War campaign is really good.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, if you're getting multiplayer, you're picking. I get the one that's on sale, like maybe a little bit cheaper. I don't know if Modern Warfare is cheaper, but like, get that one because that multiplayer is still really good. They still cycle their playlists through. You're not going to get any more big updates. They're all going to go to Black Ops. But this is the cool thing, and that's what I really liked about what they decided to do, at least for this season. And I think it's going to be this way going forward. The season, when you buy Season 1, the Battle Pass, you get it for all 3. You get it for Cold War, Warzone, and Modern Warfare. So you can progress that Battle Pass any way you want to between the 3 games, which, for me, I'm not going to play a lot of Cold War multiplayer besides kind of finding a gun I might like and getting some attachments for it and leveling it up. But yeah, I like playing Modern Warfare as multiplayer at times, and I like Warzone. So me probably leaning on those 2 things more than the actual Cold War multiplayer will get me all the stuff on the Battle Pass for me to use. Now, of course,
would you do that if EA Sports did that? Would you buy that Battle Pass? where just by playing Madden games, you're also unlocking special things in NHL and vice versa, and FIFA and across the board?
I mean, potentially.
I'm trying to think of another like series like Modern Warfare that could warrant something like that.
I mean, the problem is access. Like, you know, like Modern Warfare came out last year and Cold War came out this year. So yeah, it's $120 if you bought them like, you know, day and date, but that's over a 2-year period. You're asking, unless you have, well, they have the fold. They would even have to fold that in EA Play because they don't even do that yet. But like, you're asking someone in a matter of 4 months buy $240 or even more now with games being $70.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But they folded into EA Play. I think that would be a fun little thing to potentially take a look at. With, you know, Call of Duty is Call of Duty. It just, you know, it looks different, plays a little different, but like, you know, it's guns, skins. Like, you can cross coordinate with that. I don't know how you would do that across all the different sports, but that's not a bad idea to look into.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of any other thing that could do it, but I don't know whether. Yeah, it's kind of an unprecedented thing. So final verdict?
I mean, I think I wish there was a map change or I don't know if I want the second map to be permanent, but like there was a lot of hype around a new map just for it to be an event. Feels a little underwhelming. And
do you think that might have been because of the Cold War weapon integration, that doing that and a new map may have been too many changes to make the game feel completely different?
They have a new map. That's the thing. There's a brand new map for this event. So yeah, but it's just for the event. It has nothing to do with
for dance changing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it feels a little lackluster in my opinion. And yeah, there's a lot of Cold War guns into it just as floor loot and, you know, for your loadouts and stuff like that. And that's going to shake up the meta, and it's probably going to be a while before we iron out like what are the go-to guns. But I'm hoping that shift makes it where like very much last season it became everyone uses a certain assault rifle and everyone uses a certain shotgun, and you saw a lot of that, and if you weren't running that, you probably weren't winning in the end game. I'm hoping that, you know, even after the dust settles and everyone kind of figures out what are the go-to weapons, I'm hoping there's like 3 go-to assault rifles and like maybe 2 go-to shotguns, or depending on how you want to play, there's a viable SMG, there's a viable sniper. Like, I'm hoping there's more options, and throwing about, I think it's about like 70, maybe that's a lot, like somewhere around like 20 guns or so into the mix. I think we'll do a good job of that. So yeah. But the nice thing is, Warzone is still played in the Modern Warfare engine. It feels very much the same. They took the guns from Cold War and adapted them to make it work in the Modern Warfare engine. So, like I said, for as much kind of hype about the Cold War integration, is not a lot.
I was in Target the other day. I don't remember why. I needed something. And first off, I noticed that Cyberpunk was fully in stock on PS4. There were no, in the PS5 case where they would normally keep those, there were none, but there was just a stack of PS4 games. And as I was just kind of wandering around, I heard someone who worked there find another employee who worked there, and I thought of Marc because she said, "Oh, there you are. Hey, we got something called Bakugan." And Marc, just a quick question: do we got something called Bakugan?
Sure.
What is Bakugan? Because I don't remember, and I know they put out that game earlier this year.
I think Bakugan is those toys. I feel like it came around the same time, like Beyblade was starting to like make a thing.
That's okay, because I kept mistaking it with Beyblade.
And it's like pseudo card game, I think, if I remember correctly. But you have these little toys that are balls, and they roll and transform. It's like these weird little like crawly mech things, and they each have their own like attacks and stats and everything to fight each other. But like you rolling those balls to make them transform is like part of the card game.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, okay.
It's weird. I like it from a distance, but like I've never touched it. I never dove into it, anything like that. But it's interesting. Like I didn't realize how popular it was in how they have tournaments and stuff for this thing. Like,
they just put out that Switch game for it out of nowhere.
Isn't this Bandai?
I'll have to bing it and find out.
I can't remember, but yeah, I'm surprised it's still around and kicking or rolling.
Well, you've been rolling a little ball through Crumble this week.
Well, yeah, I have.
Tell me about Crumble. You sent a video that is something.
This game just came out December 4th, I think. And it's $15 on Steam. So I was like, I saw some people I follow on YouTube play it, and I was like, this looks fun. I need to try this. There is a demo that you can download if you're interested in that instead. I think it gives you World 2 to try out. Which is interesting because since World 1 is more like tutorial based, but yeah, it's like you're this weird little slime ball that has like its own ball physics basically. But its mechanic is, since it is like a platformer, you have a tongue that you can stick and swing to objects, and everything has its own physics as well, so everything can crumble around you depending on what it is. So it's like a weird mix between Spider-Man and Sonic. This does what I think we want from Sonic games when it comes to like momentum and speed and just going down certain like tubes and pathways without not much stopping you. And if something does stop you, it's just because of the physics and everything. But I was able to save myself. But yeah, you seriously, you get that feeling immediately. You're just like, why can't Sega just do this? Like it's so great.
Tell me, Marc, why can't they?
I don't know, man. I don't know why. They're just, somebody just needs to talk to the right people, show them this game or a lot of fan games. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if they do another Mania like thing where they hire some of these fans to make like a good 3D Sonic or something.
I don't know, man. That Forces team has been quiet, and we know they're working on something for next year. I was surprised we didn't see anything at Game Awards, but maybe that just wasn't the right place. But I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of.
Blue, I'm just going to throw that out there.
You can change your skin though.
All right.
Like with the bumper, you can change between colors, but you can unlock more skins, like secret ones throughout the game. I found one that's a tennis ball. So I'm just like a tennis ball with a tongue. There's no face on it, but you can do that.
Yeah. So is this like an endless runner, or like not endless runner, but are you automatically running, or you have to hit up?
No, you actually hold forward.
No, because when you watch the trailer on Steam, it makes it seem like it's like one of those, not like an endless runner, but like a runner with level design.
It's showing all the cool parts when the level is going with a good flow. It's like highlighting those parts a lot. But there are parts where you do just have to like platform jump to things to kind of figure out how to get to the next platform by like swinging off of something, and how your tongue can auto aim to certain objects may be either a detriment or a benefit depending on where you're at, because sometimes it sticks to things you didn't expect it to stick to, and that might ruin. But when you fall and die, it respawns you immediately kind of near where you fell off. There are checkpoints, so it's not painstaking, or it doesn't break the flow of your interest in the game, or there's no long loading times or anything like that. It's instant respawn. So that's really good. But there are actual levels. There's like you jump out of a rocket to start the level, and you end by jumping back into the rocket. And between worlds, there is a hub overworld where you fly to different little like stages, kind of like Donkey Kong and Mario kind of overworld map thing. And depending on your time, how fast you beat it, you unlock these stars. And I think the stars unlock more like bonus levels, I believe. Average for me, it's like 2 to 3 minutes to complete a level, but you get the stars by beating it shorter than that. So this really, what's the word? It definitely encourages like
running.
Yeah, and like if you can know your way around with this, it's cool, and it's like I'm just having a good time with it. This is one of the few platformers out there I think should not be overlooked. Like if you can do the demo, try that, and that should tell you everything. but I did play a level. It was a bonus level too that I had to go back to and find. I think it was called Another Dimension or something with Dimension. And I was like, what's so different about this one? And I'm going through it, nothing's really different. I'm like, it's still fun though. And then all of a sudden I jump into this like this portal, like this black hole looking thing in the ground, and then it goes from like a top down view, and I'm kinda like a semi like shadow in the ground, but now it becomes a 2D platformer. That whole stage, 3D, top down, is now a side-scrolling platformer. And I still have to use those physics, where like the grass is basically the air, and all the dirt paths are the obstacles that I can like climb and jump around. And I thought that was so cool, the way they did that. Like, it's kind of hard to notice some of the obstacles at first, because you're just not used to... You just don't expect this to happen. So it takes a little bit of adjustment.
Someone play Symphony of the Night.
But like, I don't know, it's cool. It's very creative. I'm getting more used. Like, your only buttons is to jump, tongue swing, and roll around. And you can roll into mushrooms that make fart noises, and that's just an added bonus, in my opinion. That's a 10 out of 10.
I added that to my wish list. I'm gonna try it today. I'm gonna at least try the demo today, if not buy it.
It takes like no time, but that game's like presentation, and it's so simple. It just, I don't know, there's something about it I can see this being keeping your interest for a good while.
Yeah. Speaking of demos, that Bravely Default 2 final demo dropped this week, which if you play it, you get 100 bonus My Nintendo coins. A lot of those bonus My Nintendo coins this week. I jumped in last night, so I did a really cool thing last night where I felt sick and weird. I was playing Metroid, and I felt like extremely tired and just kind of like, I want to go to bed. And it was like 7 or something like that. So I went and laid down, and I'm like laying down, and I think it was we had this food. Anyway, I think it was that. I think it was the food. But I felt a little bit better after just laying around for like an hour staring at the wall, and grabbed my Switch. And I was like, oh, right, that demo. I need to play that before we record. So I downloaded that. It was taking forever, so I figured, why don't I play some games? Played some Valis 4, realized that pings the network, which pauses downloads for Bravely Default 2. So I ended up buying and downloading Guilty Gear, I forget which one, Samurai Showdown 2, all these games I could play without it having an active internet connection, and I could let Bravely Default download in the background while I played a bunch of random nightmare stuff, just fighting games. So I'm playing those. Bravely Default 2 downloads. I jump in. You got a 5-hour time limit for the demo. Your save data does not carry into the final game.
Ew.
So it was kind of just like, boom, boom, 2 shots to the head. Now I'm dead. But you start with a party of 4. Each character has a specific class and a specific job, which each class and job type dictates which attacks and special moves are available. Kind of like Yakuza 7, you change your job, you change your available attacks. And this feels like playing old Final Fantasy. Like, I know that was the hook of the original Bravely Default game, but I had never played much of that beyond its demo. This feels like playing that, but it's like, they made it today, not in the 80s or 90s. And that's not to say that I don't have an appreciation for those old games, but like, it's refreshing to see a modern RPG feel like one of those old ones, but look like a game from today. I feel like often there's like not a perfect blend, and I think that this does, from the demo at least, does a really good job at blending new and old with gameplay and design. And man, it is impressive looking on Switch. I was playing in handheld, so I'm sure it looks better on the TV, or maybe worse, I don't know. But remembering what the 3DS version looked like, where it just kind of looked like a lot of artifacting. What's the John Lennon, please? Just like really jagged edges and things like that.
Oh, poor AA.
Yeah, like it felt like that, like very much that on 3DS. But this one, like the character models look really good. Like they're very high resolution looking.
They're still like minimal in design, though, right?
Yeah, there's still that kind of look, and I know that like you
Like
were not a big fan
chibi-looking
of that. Yeah, that art style. So this is still that art style. It's just a much higher resolution version of that art style.
Yeah.
But I think it looks really good on Switch, and after playing that, I'm more like, ooh, this could be fun to try out different job systems and change things out and do that whole thing. And remember, this game has that cool Brave system. So if you are fighting, you can cash in a Brave point to take 2 turns. And like if you do special things in the battle, you'll get a Brave point, and that gets you basically an extra attack or an extra move or something like that. And you can kind of like risk reward with your attack style. Before that, though, one of my other... I spent like $30 last night just being an idiot, just like browsing the eShop and just pulling the trigger. So I grabbed Collection of Saga, Final Fantasy Legend. That's all 3 Final Fantasy Legend games as we know them here. They were originally released as the Saga games in Japan. But I grabbed that, and they are the Game Boy games with... It sucks, man. Like, they did some of the stuff that you'd want in a modern collection of these, but not everything. So, like, I don't know. They're Game Boy games, and I know that they're Game Boy games, but they also could be played on a Game Boy Color. And I feel like any emulator you would play these on, you would have the option to switch between different Game Boy styles, right? Like, even if you popped it into a Super Game Boy, you could do that.
Like,
this is
just
change
the palette colors and all that?
Yeah, you can't do that. This is just the old Game Boy, which is fine, but like, if you're building this, why not do that extra bit?
Yeah.
They have some interchangeable backgrounds and stuff you can do as the frames. You can change picture size, but not by much. You can only kind of do like a smaller window or a window that hits the top edges. You can't do stretch, which is fine because who wants to do stretch?
Yeah. Can you listen to the soundtrack at the before you pick to play the game? Is it like at the very bottom of the screen? Is there like a little thing to like switch through tracks or something?
Not that I remember, but I'm not going to say no.
Okay. So I was trying to see if they were just using the same blueprint like they did for the Mana collection.
Oh, I'll have to look. It seems very much like that. But you can jump in. You can swap between the English and the Japanese versions of the games from the main menu. There are some quality of life, like save state things you can do very easily. Nope, that's wrong. You can't do save states. You just have a menu button and you can save at any time because it's a Game Boy game. But they don't have like a straight up save state system that I found yet.
Can you like fast forward?
Yes, you hit L and you can do a kind of, it's like double or quad speed. There's not the Final Fantasy games had that kind of like gradual step you could do between 1x, 2x, 8x or whatever. And this one is just fast or slow, but the fast is fast to a point where like it looks weird because some of the characters like clip through the world and stuff. And it's but they're out $20 if you're interested in those. Those are really good games, but it's gonna take me a while, and I shouldn't have bought it because I have too much to play. But there it is. And finally, from too much to play, in case you haven't been able to find an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5, maybe you're saving up for that Super Nintendo Switch Advance coming out next year, but SNK is going to drop a hot one in 2021. Apparently, a new SNK console is on the way for all of you who have been waiting. There were several different types of announcements. One was the Japanese tweet, and the other was an English tweet. But the English one says, a brand new console is coming from SNK in 2021, a system to bridge the needs between passionate fans and console gaming enthusiasts. Interestingly enough, in November 2020, this year, a subsidiary of Saudi Arabia's Misk Foundation purchased 28.8% of SNK shares that were previously owned by Hong Kong's Zuikaku Company Limited, with plans to acquire the majority of the company's shares. So there's been a lot of shakeups from a top-down level. During a 2019 investor relations press conference in Korea, SNK had announced plans for Neo Geo 2 and Neo Geo 3. But they hadn't made any announcements since the Neo Geo Mini. I have no idea, man. This is supposed to be the 2 and 3 are supposed to be successors to the original Neo Geo and not the Mini. The Mini was like a collection. This is supposed to be a new console. Are you guys in? Are you?
I mean, I like SNK, but yeah, I gotta wait for more information on this. Exactly what this entails. Is this like another like Ouya situation or?
Oh yeah, I don't know if it'll be that bad. I can't imagine it would be.
I forgot about that.
But I think about stuff like the analog systems and like they're doing something. I just don't know what. I don't know. We'll see.
It's probably like a way to like, it'll probably like maintain like the old classics. You know, it's like a more dedicated service, but also you can play new SNK games on them or something.
I'd be okay with that.
I don't know.
Will
that is
Cyberpunk
everything
run any better on that?
Yeah, I don't know. You got big plans for the week, y'all?
I'm pushing. I don't know how far I am to Yakuza. I think that's a really good thing about the story. I'm gonna try to beat that. I'm not touching Cyberpunk until I beat that game, though. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
Dude,
I get it, man. When you're in it, you're in it.
It's random for me at this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out Crumble. For sure. I'm gonna probably beat Metroid today, maybe, if not tomorrow. I think I still have like 2 more planets after the one I'm on now, so I don't know if it'll happen super quickly, but I'm kind of having fun with that. And then I don't know. I still have been like checking in with Persona 5, just doing a day here, a day there, but I haven't really committed a hard chunk of time to that in a while. So, I don't know. And then I just keep buying fighting games. I'm just gonna keep playing random fighting games for some reason. If you want to hear more of us podcast, nope, you could just go to thefreecheese.com. That's the place. Podcast at thefreecheese.com is an email address. Twitter accounts are, the show is at somefreecheese. Matt is at MattyIce131. Marc is at og_mental. That's it. We're almost at the end here. We got stuff. I don't know. A couple weeks out, we'll have our prediction show, which means I got to go back and look at all the old predictions. I know.
Best episode of the year.
I need to like actually listen to the last one because I never did the formal article on the website that like, you know, broke everything down. So I have no point of reference. So I have to go back and like listen.
I don't think I remember my predictions because this year got all messed up.
I can't even begin. I don't remember a single one that I made. I'm sure I said something with the word mother in it, but I'm sure I was also wrong. So yeah, that'll be a fun one to jump into in 2 weeks from now. But a week from now, we'll be back with another regular episode, getting ready for the end of the year, I suppose. And that's it. Thank you. How do I do this? Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Marc. Thank you, listener, for listening. That's the show. I'll see you next time. Bye.